I just want to say I've been a part of some really huge issues in this country in my lifetime. Being here in Arkansas, born in the 60s, and all those things going on. And moving to California with the Rodney King beating with the 9 police officers, um, beating him down. And Dick Gregory did make a point. He said it was lit up, really lit up like a movie. It was like really lit up. It's very interesting. So then, in New York City, the first black mayor, Dinkins, deal with that. And even Dr. Sebi, being in California, when he came out with the information, he was the Park Slope newspaper came up and asked him about it because there was no black media there. And I lived in Park Slope when I was working for Acorn, um, previously known as Black Welfare Mothers of America. So even then here in Arkansas with that and being a part of that, so and a few other things too. Well, in our local cities, but rebuild downtown was part of that thing twice. So on a large scale things, um, and then the Reginald Denny, I guess that was the same thing, the Rodney King riots. But the little girl got shot in the head with the orange juice and all that stuff. And a few other things, I'm sure, in other places. But it's really interesting. So, and move right into what Dr. Sebi's case, but to be more specific. Um, um, he was guided by some principles of excellence that we have presented to this world in many situations. So it's like it's laid in our lap, and he reminded us of how easy the most difficult things are because pressure, or people who think they're using treacherous pressure, we can always have pressure as the answer, as the overpowering remedy. So with that, to say that what happened to Dr. Sabi, remember when he put it in the paper, excuse me, the AIDS that's been cured by his organization, what happened? The Attorney General and not the Surgeon General called him and said, you got to take that out because it's not true. And he explained all the black people who were doctors, healers, and all of that. They didn't want to deal with him, and, all that type of thing. And this is communication. These are communication methods. He went all over Africa, talked to all the people in Africa and all of that. He went to the Congressional Black Caucus and went before Judge. Not Judge. Went before what's his name? President Bush, Bush Jr. And taken to them by Michael Jackson, one of the most respected people that they knew, and went before these people, and still no one accepted it. And but when he put it in the paper, they said no, 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 no. And so he gave, he said, we'll see you in hell. They really pushed the pressure, right? So the most precious thing to come out of that, because there was so much pressure on that situation worldwide. And what he did was very specific about what the herbs original source, who used them, and what the lessons, or who taught the lessons. From the earth, from the creation process, herbs are for the healing of the nation, being specific for people of color, and that's people in Africa. He asked the court system, which has the judges, the lawyers, and juries, and all of that, right? So, and he told the court system that did you all bring the food from Africa to heal and help our families grow? That was a very specific question to very specific people. Yeah, because we were black. Okay, so to that point, okay, and so the FDA, and the AMA, the Food and Drug Administration, and the American Medical Association, the people who dispense, who can say the medical field who controls all of that, they were there. Those were his proponents, the people going against him, okay? The prosecutors, yes? So, but he was being prosperous. And so the whole premise was that the African people, specifically a food diet specifically genetically associated with their bodies to remove the mucus, and he did that. And yet his first patients were Europeans, white folks, okay? But specifically that African people were genetically predisposed to be on a African plant-based diet, to be the prototype human being. And that's what the prototype human being is made of, all minerals. So the regurgitation of the minerals from the plant, pre-digested for you, like Doc used to say, breast milk from Mother Earth. So in that case, you see, the people he had to go against, the established system in all of that, yes? So the case with Byron Allen, I would suggest, is the very same thing. It's a very winning situation for that individual and our communication at that level. One person took on the so-called system, the people, Comcast and all of that. Dr. Saber's same situation, a very equal situation, because Byron Allen now started at an early age learning his craft from the best. Johnny Carson, he told the stories all the time. See, I love people when they tell stories. I mean, I don't miss none of that. He was 13 years old, writing for Jimmy, what's his name? You know, Jimmy Walker, the hottest shows around. He's in there with Jay Leno and David Letterman and all those people. And you see what he's bypassed them. Totally bypassed them. No one even talks about that they came up together, even talks about him and with them, or they don't even speak about it, because they look where he is and look where they are. Beautiful, isn't it? So he goes on and establishes himself as a business person by being taught by the giants in the business. And they were who? Not black people. So simply looking at it like that, we know who owned those corporations. Never been black people. You don't have to prove that it's so-called racist, but it is racist in a formal way, because who was able to own those companies from the times of slavery and all of that, to be able to give them the right to own at that scale? We were left out of that equation most of the time. Okay, so yeah, you can be specific. I would say that it's racist in a formal business way, and because there's a negative side to it, but the positive side is still a specific trait, a specific argument in the court system that can be used against them. Who else has ever owned or is trying to do business with these corporations besides you? Who has been the chessboard owner? Who owns the ball? Or can take it home with you if you're not winning. You snatch the ball and can't nobody, because you're the only one who thought to bring the ball, or the last person. Everybody else's ball, you know, you're the only one with the ball. So if you don't play every game, take the ball home, you know. It's one of these situations. So this is race specific in a positive way, though, that gives them, that they use their power against them to say, yes, that is true. Who else has owned? Just go to the records and use the records as they do, but use them in a positive way. Just like the crazy man told him to go look in the lion's paw and find something. It's the same way. It's crazy to look at it like that. And yet, when you look at it, or the white dude that asked can humans have a natural compass navigation system in their heads like migrating birds? And yes, we do, because he said we do have magnetite in our brain, the liquid brain formation, which is what? Sunshine, water, air, earth, fire, gas, and water. Water, 3 different states. So even in that sense, when you don't look, you don't know. But when you look deeper, well, look at what you can come up with. And these are prime examples. So in this court case, you can marry those things. You can court the system, and you can show the justice in that in a capitalistic way, in a racial way, in a business carried out way. Of course, who's the one that's carrying out the business? And you can even say it's best to do business. You can get along with people like yourself. So they were like-minded people. It was all white folks. You can even use that against them. Just to prove that yes. And the people you spent money with or did business with were not 100% owned African Americans. So that is the law. That's what's in the Constitution. The courts cannot overrule that. They can make recommendations, I'm sure. I'm not a law knower at all. And yet, divine law gives us answers when we are under pressure, regardless of the situation. Okay? So that's what I got out of that. The living experience, the giant going against them. In most recent case, when it's race-specific, and the perfection of it, because they thought that the wording is viruses. On Dr. Sebi's case, why don't you use a virus? He said, no, that's not the word I'm using. This is mucus, only one disease, and he provided answers by proving mucus in the chest, mucus in nasal passages, and mucus in the eyes, and all of that, all of the diseases that manufactured through that. So, without it being in the established system books to use as the relevant case, and yet that case, Dr. Sebi, has set precedent for this case to be followed up on. And we always say, as we reminded, we are radio, TV, broadcast communicators. So that's our deal there. Let's get it together. It doesn't take us long to get together and gather. Okay? And be peacefully dominant. So that's why I came to the court of opinion, dominion. That's what it's all about, communication. If we all communicate together, powerful statement to make. So just on GP, let's communicate that. It's coming up in November, yes. Scorpio, or that ego time. Yeah, that ego time. You see? Yeah. Albatross. And so in this current flow, which is radio and TV broadcasting, the same way that current flow Dr. Sebi used with the plant-based diet from the natural sources. Didn't have to make up any theoretical anything. Barry Allen worked with the best. And by using those people that he worked with, even they can prove that with who they were doing business with and who they weren't doing business with. Not that they had anything to do with the case, but the fact that they're just saying who he was doing business with all throughout those years, get the names up and say, see, these are people that we did business with. This is who actually were doing business with them. And what are these corporations? So which even more so proves the issue. Yes, not that it was racist, but it's race specific with the dollars. Shows that and proves that. Just as Dr. Sebi showed and improved it with his case. Although it could improve everyone's life, which this will do, it would expand the customer base for everyone. And but there are some hidden things going on there. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful case that can be looked at, used very, very easily, when it's seen in that way.